So, hi everyone, I'm Hemal from M&S. Work in a small team called the Venture Lab. Hopefully we've got some slides coming up. Oh, they're behind me, excellent. So I've got 10 minutes, so it's going to be a pretty quick whirlwind tour on who we are, what we do, how we do it, and an example of something we've been working on. So as I mentioned, we're a pretty small team, so we focus on innovation, and we classify ourselves as doing the disruptive stuff, so the cool stuff. So we've got kind of two types of innovation, let's say, as a quick definition. So the incremental stuff, which is kind of things which are going to take us over the next 3 years. They're small things, improvements on current customer experiences, current propositions, and they're basically considered upgrades. So there's a separate team which deals with that, and they look after our website, our apps, and all the suite of tools which our staff use. We do the disruptive stuff, so what we would consider kind of high-risk, high-reward things, and we're looking to basically raise the bar and evolve how customers consume from us. And so this is essentially entering new territory, so coming up with new propositions for customers and dealing with new markets as well. So in terms of how we go about doing that, there's kind of 3 ways to kind of do this as a corporate. You can either go and buy these companies, invest in them, or go and build them yourself. And so we've taken the approach of building ourselves. So we've hired a team of founders. So these are second, third stage founders who had some reasonable amount of success in the past, but they're still hungry, and they want to get their hands on the kind of resources that a company like Marks & Spencer has to offer. So we've got 32 million customers to play with, over 800 stores. We know how to do product merchandising, buying, design, logistics, retail, and e-commerce, and marketing. So these founders have a lot to play with. And in building these things ourselves, we can basically use lean startup techniques to seed an idea, act like a startup. And so we'll put 200K into a proposition, do what we need to do to kind of validate all the moving parts. Doing that incubation, if it works, we'll accelerate it and kind of pump M&S rocket fuel into these little rockets which we create. So our team focuses on the right-hand side. So we're building stuff, but we also work with startups. And so we work with startups. The other teams that look after the incremental side of things also work with startups, but we do as well. So we're looking for people who are, or companies that are kind of matching our vision and our strategy and the types of problems that we want to solve. But we want to avoid reinventing the wheel, essentially. And so they're doing things which are more difficult for us to do ourselves, which is kind of the main point to mention. So our team is essentially here to evolve retail and e-commerce for M&S. We want to evolve how customers consume from us, look at each of the categories of products which we sell, and think about the best way to sell each of those categories. So some of those categories could arrive in a doorstep every month or every quarter. Some of those categories you could rent from us, which gets quite interesting. Some of those categories could have a nice concierge experience wrapped around them. And the way we're going to do that is using these lean startup techniques. So build, measure, learn, take baby steps, and iterate. All simple stuff. So I'll give you an example of something we've been working on. We've just taken it out of incubation into acceleration. We're 50,000 customers in, and we're targeting about 1.5 million. So this is about personal styling, and so helping customers with what to wear and how to wear it. We have the luxury of seeing and speaking to our customers on a daily basis at M&S. We've got 800 stores. This is Sarah. She's a visual merchandiser in our store on Oxford Street, and every day she'll help customers with specific requests. So someone might come in looking for a jacket for a job interview, let's say. They want something not too formal, not too casual, and Sarah will spend 10, 15 minutes with them, getting to know them, and the customer gets to know Sarah as well. So this isn't anything new. This is pretty standard on the high street. But what happened when we kind of hung out a lot with customers and hung out with our staff is we realized that there's a specific set of customers who are kind of what we consider high need. So these are busy mums, busy professionals. They don't just need one piece, but they need a kind of a wardrobe overhaul. They live pretty demanding lifestyles, and therefore their wardrobes are pretty demanding too. And so they essentially, the only way to solve that problem for them at the moment, so they're not quite sure what to wear and how to wear it, and the way to solve that is to go and see a personal stylist. So take a day out of their diary, spend a few £100s, maybe feel obliged to buy, and we got thinking about the kind of antithesis of that. So if we were to provide this sort of service, what would that look like? So we thought maybe it would be free, there's no obligation to buy, and you can kind of just use it at home. So that's kind of how we go about tackling things, is starting with customers and their pain points, and then trying to scope out pain killers. At the same time as this, we were looking at the evolution of retail in parallel. So the fact that we get to see and speak to our customers every day isn't anything new. This was the de facto a few decades ago. You'd have a friendly face behind the counter. You knew them, they knew you. You could pick up where you left off in terms of conversation. You might have rapport with them. You might get this today in some cafes where you nod to the barista and they start making your coffee before you even said hello. So pretty nice experience. Shops got bigger. We made customers drive to them, and then we put the products from behind the counter out in front of the aisles. And so now as a customer, you have to walk around and pick this stuff up yourself. You still get to speak to a person at the end, but it's a different person every time. You can't pick up where you left off. In fact, this is a shot from M&S in Wood Green in 1948. When they switched to the model, it was such a paradigm shift at the time, we had to hand out these leaflets to customers explaining how to shop, explaining to pick up a basket, walk around the aisles, and come and see us at the end to pay, something which we take for granted right now. Fast forward to today, and in the case of food, we've got self-checkout. We've taken the humans out of the mix altogether. And so as a customer, you're doing all that work yourself. And so we thought this was quite interesting, because retail's kind of evolved from left to right. But if you look at e-commerce, it's kind of going the opposite direction. It's going from right to left. And so if you shop on M&S.com now, you'd have to, or any other website, you'd have to find the product that's right for you, read the reviews, add it to your basket, fill in your details, and check out. And that's kind of life on the right-hand side. Life in the middle is a bit like live chat. So if you've got live chat on a website, you get to speak to a person. It's a different person every time. You can't quite pick up where you left off. So that takes us back to the middle. And we've got thinking about what life might be like on the left-hand side. So could we go back to that golden age of retail where you've got someone you can rely on in your pocket? And so going back to Sarah in our store, let's say we've spent 10, 15 minutes with her. Instead of walking out the store and that being the end of that conversation and that engagement, what about if you could go home and Sarah could be there to help you out whenever you needed her? And so let's say you've got a special occasion coming up. Sarah could provide you a few recommendations based on what she knows about you. So she knows your style profile, a few other credentials, your kind of tastes, likes and dislikes. When you want to revive a few things from your wardrobe, she could tell you how to do that too. And when the seasons change, she could be there to advise you kind of what's right for you, based on everything she knows about you. So that was a proposition that we kind of started with about 18 months ago now. And that's what we've launched. It's called Tuesday, so you can check it out at trytuesday.com. It's a separate website to M&S.com. The experience is you sign up. It looks a lot like, or feels a lot like WhatsApp or iMessage. Answer a few questions, tell us a bit about yourself, everything that a stylist would need to know from you. We assign you a stylist. So this is a real person. We've got a team of stylists in our head office in Paddington. And when your selection is ready, so this is Jamie here on the screen. Jamie emails you to say, I've got your pieces for you, come and take a look. And so you can click through, see each piece, and read why the stylist has selected it for you. So going back to the pain points that customers had, not knowing what to wear and how to wear it, we're solving those in as seamless way as possible. The results are pretty good, so lots of nice big orders coming through. The average order value is about 4.5 times the average from without using the service from women's wear transactions. And lots of happy customers with lots of great quotes. I think the top one's probably my favorite. I love you, these outfits are wonderful and totally inspired. Wish you could be here every day to dress me. Lots of nice reappraisals as well. I never realized M&S had such fashion-forward outfits. So not only are we helping customers with the pain point of knowing what to wear and how to wear it, but we're starting to have an effective reappraisal as well. So most customers from a younger demographic would probably perceive the brand as to do with their mum or their grandmother, maybe a couple of generations above them. But there is product there, it's just hard for them to find. And so when we curate and we focus, we can show these customers the product that's there. So going back to process then, we talked about incubation and acceleration. Incubation for us typically takes kind of 3 steps. Validate, establish, and optimize. So validate, we want to know, do customers want this thing? So we're going to validate each of the different parts of this business model, of this proposition, the value proposition, customer segments, marketing channels, your cost structure, and your revenue models. And we'll do small tests to do that. In fact, when we launched Tuesday initially, one of the worries we had was whether a private label retailer like M&S, like us, could offer this service, because customers expect recommendations from the entire high street. And so for 5 weeks, under the radar, we launched non-M&S branded, offering products to customers from the whole market, just to check what came back as spend. And then we did it as M&S only, and we noticed spend was exactly the same. So it showed us that customers value the advice, but also there's product there for everybody in our range. So with all that high-risk stuff validated, we do all the heavy lifting to get it on its feet, and then start to optimize the metrics which matter. And then it's a case of accelerating. So we stress tested it with about 50% of our customers have signed up in the last quarter, I'd say. So we know this thing scales. And now it's a case of kind of driving volume and plugging it into the M&S machine, as it were. So this is a little view of how things have kind of progressed over time by quarter. So doubling and tripling from quarters to quarter, some quarters, which is good fun, all part of being on the roller coaster. This quarter, we think we'll start to really ramp things up. And then this is kind of a superfluous slide to say we're doing stuff, but we can't really talk about it. So there's lots of work happening with startups from an incubation and an acceleration point of view, and then stuff that's happening internally within our team. So that's a bit about us and our team, if that's useful.
Thank you very much. So Tuesday is live now, out there,
absolutely.
ready to be used. Okay, next up, I'm pleased to welcome to the stage Gemma Proctor, who is Senior Director of Research Consultancy and Customer Success at Consultancy Vision Critical. Take it away, Gemma.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. There's probably a fair few of you out there that might be unfamiliar with exactly who Vision Critical are, so I'm going to start by telling you exactly who we are and what we do. So we are a Canadian MarTech company. We build and we provide customer intelligence platforms on behalf of our clients that enables them to gather, to manage, to integrate, and to analyze customer insight data. And we work with around 600 of the world's leading brands. We work with tech giants such as LinkedIn and Adobe. We work with retailers such as Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Saks, and Macy's. Online retailers such as Etsy, Boden, Crew Clothing, some of those you may have heard of. And increasingly, it's not just kind of big global brands that we're working with. We're also working with smaller brands that are in the charitable sector that want to understand more about their supporters. We work with housing associations that want to know about their residents. We work with professional trade organizations like the Institute of Directors and the Law Society that want to know more about their members. And increasingly, we're starting to either work with or partner with pure play online digital startups because they're realizing that there's only so much that they can really kind of gain from that huge amount of data that they sit on, and actually bringing the voice of their customer or user into the mix is incredibly valuable. There may be a few of you out there that are thinking, okay, yeah, I've kind of heard this before. She just does online research panels. They've been around for donkey's years. Kind of where's the so what in this? And in some ways, you're right. They have been around for donkey's years. They've been around for kind of 10 or 15 years. In fact, I set up my first online online audience panel when I was at BBC Worldwide over 10 years ago now. But they have changed a lot since then. They're no longer just survey tools where you're spamming out surveys to customers over and over again, not really learning anything new. Much more sophisticated these days. In fact, I've worked in a number of organizations, most recently Twitter, where we start to be able to connect the dots between that behavioral and that user data, and then that claimed data to really start to answer the why questions that we see a hell of a lot of companies really starting to need to know the answer to. So even though this is a retail session, hopefully some of the examples that I'm going to take you through today are pertinent to a range of different companies and sectors out there. So I'm just going to take you through a few of our customer stories. So I'm going to start with a story. Okay, it's not retail, forgive me, but it's a good one. It's from one of our customers, LinkedIn. So you're probably thinking LinkedIn employ an army of data scientists and data analysts, and they sit on a mountain of data. What on earth would they want to know from having this customer intelligence platform? Well, they realized that there was a huge amount of value in terms of humanizing that data that they sit on. They realized that there's value in terms of their product engineers really having that singular customer view about who their users and who their members are, and being able to answer the questions that the data just hasn't been able to give them. They've been a client of ours now for about 18 months. They started off with one platform. They now have 7 platforms, and they have almost 70,000 of their members and users talking to them, answering the questions, but most importantly, giving LinkedIn that ability to ask those questions at the speed and at the scale and the agility that essentially a West Coast tech company really demands from technology. So really good example there, and it's probably suffice to say that a lot of the meetings that we have, particularly with digital companies, are they're telling us that still a lot of their decisions are made on gut instinct, and actually the power lies in the hands of product designers and people who think they know what their customer wants and needs, but actually there's a gap there. And sometimes the need to embrace the latest technology and to innovate and steal and march essentially on what competitors are doing and get there before anybody else means that there's essentially a gap widening between understanding really what the customer wants and the product that is being made for them. So at Vision Critical, we work with many of our clients who really understand that actually there is a huge benefit in just stopping and listening to the voice of a customer. So being able to bring in that voice of the customer to really understand more about their lives, their attitude, their beliefs, not just about how they use their product and how it fits into their everyday lives and how they're using it, but really just take a step back, maybe understand the customer journey, maybe understand a little bit about how they're coping with their income at the moment, what they think about political views, the economy. And this is what companies like LinkedIn are really starting to notice and to understand, that there's much more value in terms of creating that huge profile, that understanding of who the customers are. And we're getting that question more and more from our customers. Another example that I wanted to bring in here is another one of our customers, which is Elizabeth Arden. Again, Elizabeth Arden, they get a huge amount of data and a huge amount of knowledge around beauty trends and product trends and what women want. But actually they realize that there's value in understanding much more about who their customer is, how they use different products, not just their own products. And so they set about launching an online user intelligence platform or customer intelligence platform to really help them kind of understand more about that. I'm going to play a quick video for you now that kind of illustrates the point of view that Elizabeth Arden have.
It's easy enough today to go after your existing consumer, but to talk to those women who we think match our current customer but we're not yet reaching, that's who we wanted to talk to in a big way. Vision Critical allows us to identify not only who she is, but we can also understand so much more about her life than we can in your typical, focus group questionnaire. What most interested us in a community, in an ongoing community, is the idea that we could talk to her about every piece of the marketing cycle.
Our insight community is called Arden Insiders, and we have 4,000 of them. There's a whole lot I love about the Arden Insiders. One of the top things is that they're individuals who are genuinely passionate and interested in beauty, and they have a desire to give their opinion and to help us do our best in terms of the products that we put out in the marketplaces.
With this community now, we can go and talk to the same people over and over again about what are your needs in skincare, and then go back and say, great, now we've thought up these concept ideas, and then we can fast forward that all the way to in-store. So we've learned about your needs, we've asked you about these concepts, and now we're bringing this to life to launch it, and here's the communication. In traditional research, you're doing each one of those with different people at different times. And as a global business, we might even be doing them bits and pieces of it in different countries. So it's hard to kind of draw that thread through every piece of it. But with the Insight community, we're talking to that same group all the way through, and we're really, really certain that that thread is there.
So gaining that fresh perspective can often lead to unplanned innovations that just weren't expected, that led to a surprising finding or a new idea, and that's really what a lot of our clients are really using their online intelligence platform to help them to get there and to innovate in a different way. Okay, my next point. So it's suffice to say that brands today are co-created online. Customers share their experience with other customers via a variety of channels, publicly, online, so via social media, via feedback, reviews, on message forums, you name it, they share it. And that means that those shared experiences are essentially shaping customer perceptions. And in a sense, it means that customers are owning that intelligence ecosystem. And we all know the stories around where potentially one customer has created a firestorm. Probably best example from this year has been United Airlines, or one customer sparked a new idea or a great idea for a campaign. I just want to talk through an example here from another client of ours, Wolverine, and I'm not going to talk about the X-Men character. But essentially, they saw an opportunity to harness that willingness to give that feedback. So customers are, they want to feel part of a brand. They want to feel like they're adding value. Often your most loyal customers can be your harshest critics, and they really want to kind of take part. And really what we see from a lot of our online communities is that the customers really feel like they're giving something back to the brand, that they're part of it, and it really kind of empowers them and makes them feel like they belong to the brand. And Wolverine, so again, some of you might not know who Wolverine are, but you may own a pair of their footwear styles. So they are responsible for the Saucony running shoe brand, the trainer brand, also Keds. Some of you may know Keds, and another brand called Sperry. So they, about 2 years ago, launched an online platform with us. And it's doing incredibly well, and they're bringing the voice of the customer, they're harnessing that willingness to give feedback and really bringing it into the organization and using it to their advantage. A great example of a case study from these guys is they had a nationwide retailer that was going to cancel the latest range of their Sperry range of footwear. Apparently the last range didn't sell very well, and they didn't believe that the latest range was going to sell either, so they were going to cancel the order. So the team at Wolverine were able to go back and ask the questions to their community and check in that this style really was suited for the audience, that they were going to purchase it, and they had that evidence that they were able to take back to the retailer. The retailer then put in an order, a small order at first. This sold out, and then they put in another order, and it resulted in over $500,000 worth of sales. So, it's proof there in the pudding that essentially brands like Wolverine are really grasping that opportunity and taking that willingness to give the feedback and harnessing it and bringing it into their organization. So finally, it's probably suffice to say that experience means everything, and it probably means everything to you guys in the room. And actually bringing research in as part of the overall customer experience and being able to measure it is something that we're seeing more and more businesses do. And actually, Forrester research proves that businesses that do embrace research as part of that customer experience are actually growing. They're going to grow at $1.2 trillion by 2020. And this is incredibly important for us. Probably most of you are measuring that customer experience with CSAT scores, with NPS scores, whether it's product, whether it's brand experience, whether it's customer service experience. You're measuring it in some way. And actually, we have been speaking to our customers, and what they're telling us is that they are struggling with the kind of disparity between the scores that they're getting back from the CSAT, and really kind of there's a gap in terms of that knowledge around actually what is driving those scores, and they need to have more information. So we've recently relaunched our core product, Spark. We've relaunched it as essentially an additional layer that sits on top of your CRM tools that can really add that level of detail and connect via a series of APIs to some of your marketing tools to really add that level of detail, dig into those CSAT scores, find out more from them and what's really driving them. We've got a couple of great case studies from brands that have just started using it. They, like I said, we've recently relaunched it about 3 months ago. So there's not a huge amount of public case studies, but being able to understand more around abandoned baskets For instance, kind of why people are leaving baskets online, and being able to connect via APIs to the people who are visiting your websites, to our platform, and then being able to ask those questions is incredibly key. We've also got a big retailer in the US who have been trialing this as a beta for some time now. They've been able to connect their loyalty card data to our platform. And what they've been able to do is create a subset of people who haven't been using the offers and kind of the overall services that are given as part of the loyalty card. And they've been able to kind of dig deeper, find out more from these customers, and then develop a range of products that have encouraged these people to go on and redeem the offers in a product and also increase their average spend as well. So some great kind of use cases there, and shows that, you know, only CSAT scores and NPSs give us kind of one part of the puzzle, but actually connecting those marketing tools, those CRM tools via APIs to our platform can really add that extra level of depth and detail that can essentially create that one singular view of customers for companies. So I'm well over time now, so to finish, I'm not going to reiterate these, but essentially I hope that the majority of these kind of case studies and stories can apply to a range of sectors, not just retail. You know, really taking a step back and listening to who your customers are. You know, having that fresh perspective, and innovation doesn't always have to come from the latest technology. It can come from a new idea that has been generated by just listening to your customers and really understanding them. Customers are really owning that intelligence ecosystem, so harness that willingness to give feedback and use it to your advantage to really bring them in and help them to co-create products for you. And then make research part of the customer experience. You know, CSATs and NPS scores only give you so much of a story. Being able to connect those tools to an insight and intelligence platform can really give you the full picture.
Thank you very much there, Gemma. If you'd like to hear more about Vision Critical, they have the huge brain-shaped memory cloud out in the exhibition over there with a candy floss truck. Next up, Steve Callanan, CEO and co-founder of WIREWAX. Welcome to the stage.
It's warm up here, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow, round of applause. Yeah, so hi everybody. My name's Steve. I'm the CEO and co-founder of WIREWAX. WIREWAX is an interactive video technology, as many of you will already know. But today I'm going to talk specifically about the application for shoppable video and how that applies to retail. And we have been doing a lot of stuff around interactive video for a long time. This particular example is a shoppable video example. We have a tool that allows people to make videos interactive themselves. We have about 25,000 users of that. And we've worked with about 400 or so brands over the last few years directly to help them create their own interactive and shoppable experience. Many of those companies I can see in the room here today, which is great. But if you kind of take away all of this fancy interactivity and shoppable functionality and look at the core conventional video format, it's an incredibly powerful medium, right? It's a pure phenomenon of our time. And, you know, it's such a powerful medium that it evokes emotion, it inspires fresh thinking, and it changes lives. And what we're doing is just very advantageous because we're already riding on the back of such a powerful medium. So we're already in a very good position. But first and foremost, you really have to understand the importance of video. And if you're not doing video, then you're a bit of an idiot, to be honest. Because it's a very powerful medium. We've already talked about this. It's the most effective way to communicate. And actually, it's the thing that we do more than anything else, is watching video. There are an estimated 549 hexillion videos on the internet right now. And for good reason, because 55% of the time, people are watching them, right? We're not doing anything else. But video has some fundamental problems with it, and I'm just going to outline them here for you. So first and foremost, it's a one-sided conversation. So the video broadcasts to you as an audience, and as an audience member, as a viewer, as a consumer of the video content, there's no way for you to communicate back. devices, mobile phones, TVs, they're very good at arranging those pixels and making them display very nicely, but they have no understanding of what those pixels represent. And in a super digital, super connected time that we live in now, that's crazy. And finally, so video has very little measurable return on investment. So your viewers can watch the content. If they see something that they like, they can't act on impulse. They can't then respond. They can't turn to consumers. So it's very difficult to measure the performance of that. So the answer, of course, is WIREWAX. And as I mentioned, it's an online tool powered by machine learning. So what does that mean? It means things like face detection and face recognition. It means object recognition, classification, motion tracking, all done internally by our proprietary computer vision tools. It's very, very fancy stuff. And this is what our machines see. They process a video and they see people, they see objects, they see products, they see opportunities for you to turn this into a powerful medium, to make video work harder. And the applications for this technology are wide and varied, but they typically fall into one of three use cases. The first is just enriching content, so just providing audiences with more information, allowing your audience to lean forward, interact with the video, whether it's on a mobile or a tablet or a desktop, and find out more information. For example, if I wanted to know who painted this, I can just lean forward and tap on it, and it will tell me. If, for example, I wanted to learn how to bake this cheesecake, I could just tap on it, and again, it just gives me that information. You get the idea, just enriching content, providing audiences with more. The second of those three applications is marketing, just creating interesting, engaging, eye-catching experiences. This is an interactive color picker that we did for Dulux, and it's a really powerful experience. It allows you to explore more about the color range. And how about this, an interactive trailer for the BBC for Sherlock, where you can go down the rabbit hole and explore additional content. And the third and most obvious use of the technology, and what we're here talking about today, is shoppable video. And the reason for that is because it's incredibly powerful, just allowing viewers to lean forward and buy something that they've seen in the video. That one for Farfetch, this one for IKEA. Homeware does amazingly well. And how about this? This is a how-to video for B&Q, so you can learn how to decorate your home, but at the same time, you can click on these things and buy all the products to go and do the job. Some of you will probably recognize this as one of the biggest shoppable videos of the time. This is for Ted Baker, and so it allows you to click on any of the products that you see in the video, and it pops up with a simple product panel, allowing you to buy anything. Now, the retailer made $70,000 worth of sales through this video alone in the first week, so shoppable video can do very, very well. This is a really boring slide, I'm really sorry. But this is basically saying that this drives a huge wedge in the conversion funnel. So you've already got an incredibly powerful medium, and now you've got this layer that sits on top that allows people to act on impulse, to just lean forward and do something instantly. This Canadian fashion retailer made $100,000 in the first 2 weeks of making this shoppable music video. And this Shop the Room video for a Time Inc. brand made $150,000 in just the first few days. So what can you typically expect from creating an interactive video with WIREWAX? Well, your active audience share, the share of your audience that are leaning forward and doing something with your video, is about 67%. So the vast majority of your audience will understand that they've got to lean forward and interact. They'll do that on average 3 times each. And if you're just driven by just longer engagement, you just want to drive more eyeballs, get people to spend more time with your video and with your brand, they will typically spend 3.5 times longer with a WIREWAX video than the same very video in its conventional format. And this is the big number. So this is the click-through rate, right? This is what do you want people to achieve with this interactive video? Do you want them to book a test drive for a car? Do you want them to enter a competition? Do you want them to buy a product? And these are the big numbers. So anything between 16 and 48% is what we're seeing in terms of click-through rates. So they're incredibly big numbers. So big, in fact, that Ted Baker recently wrote something in Marketing Week to say that subsequent sales of all the products featured in their WIREWAX video, along with overall brand engagement, was both up 30%. That's a massive number. Let me leave that with you for a minute. But why is shoppable video so powerful? Why is it so effective? And I think what you have to do is take a step back and look at the in-store experience. So if you go into a high street retailer, it's an interesting, welcoming, comfortable environment. You're lavished with a pristine and polished user experience, a consumer experience. And you don't get the same effect elsewhere, right? And let's have a look at the online shopping experience. It's this. It's typically this, right? So you get a product list page. It's even got an acronym. And your product display page, a PDP page. That's it. It's a mundane, it's a stale, it's a boring, it's, quite frankly, it's rude and it's insulting. It's the same. It's not just fashion. It's the same for every retailer throughout the world. It's exactly the same. And so no wonder consumers online are desperate to be inspired, to be given something a bit more creative. This is a good example. So this is ASOS. We all know ASOS. It's the bastion of disruptive online shopping. This is 2004, so not long after they launched their site. So this is a product list page, and this is a page this morning. That's 13 years of progress, people. That's how far we've got. The product list page. So I've got a size selector, the price. I've even got some other products that I might like. Same page this morning, right? No wonder online shoppers are hungry for something that's a bit more interesting. We did a survey recently that looked at how consumers feel about what's the sentiment about online shopping. And the sentiment that came back was overwhelming. One of the messages that came back, I want to feel like me and my dollars are valued. I just want the brand to care for me online like they do in store. I want to be sold to. These are really interesting things, right? Customers actually want to be sold to. And Shoppable video helps do that. It's a creative, it's an inspirational, it's a value add. It's something that increases the conversion of online sales because people want to experience these type of things. They want to feel the same value that they get in store online. And they're very effective. They do very, very well. Interestingly, they also told us that they want to be told what to buy. Now, I thought this was really fascinating. When you go in store, you get more inspiration about what you're going to buy. If you go online, if you don't know what you want, it's a terrible experience for browsing. So Shoppable video, again, just helps people explore things and learn more about the product and everything else. And listen, I know that online retail growth is growing, and it's amazing that it is under those conditions. But you know, it could grow much, much faster. And if online retailers respected customers like they do in store and invested in inspiring, engaging, and powerful shoppable video, then they could start reaping the rewards much quicker. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Steve. I definitely recognize those product pages as John Lewis and ASOS, even without the branding. So they must be doing something right.
Yes.
OK, thank you very much, guys. Now, the growth of online means that in future, the bricks and mortar store will play a completely different role. And many brands are turning to make the in-person shopping more of an experience and not just transactional. Other than the oft-trotted out kind of Warby Parker examples, is there anyone that you see is doing this really well? And what can we learn from them? What do you think, Hemal?
I think I'm trying to figure out where you got screenshots of those websites from over 10 years ago from. You take them yourself? Anyway, so there's lots to play for. So the easiest way to approach this is to think about the category of product. And so at M&S, we sell everything from kind of socks to sofas to sandwiches, and the kind of the customer journey for each of those is very different. And if you take into account if you want to discover or if you're on a mission, if you know what you want to buy versus you need a bit of a helping hand, then the journey is going to be very different. And so there's lots we can do, lots of basic stuff we can do with basic tech. And so rich CRMs will give us the ability to identify a customer when they walk into the store. There are stores that already do this. They know your details, verify who you are. They've got your payment details there already, so you can buy stuff without taking your wallet out of your pocket and walk out. That doesn't feel like shopping. But that's facilitated by a nice kind of concierge experience. So there's lots to do, and it kind of depends on the customer journey. So my advice is, we would advocate thinking about the customer experience and making it seamless, and just not going over the top with tech and just kind of crowbarring it in for tech's sake.
Yeah.
Focus on the customer journey.
So you're not of the view that maybe all of the purchasing should be online and the physical experience should be just maybe where you go and try things?
Yeah, they should be blended. So
Yeah.
so that you're not quite sure what you're after. In fact, something we're thinking about with the personal styling experience on Tuesday is that you're at home, you've got your selection through. You should be able to select a few pieces and say, I'll be in the store tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
Fitting room is ready for you. Go try it on. The stylist is already there. Maybe a
Yep.
glass of champagne as well. And so, if you're a Sparks Club member, and so that kind of blurs the world between online and in store. If you're buying furniture, for example, you might start in store and then go and do some AR at home to see if it's going to fit in your living room. And so little things like that, they're kind of big leaps depending on how mature this stuff is to you as a retailer. But simple things to kind of blur the two worlds. Those
Okay.
are kind of the most obvious things which are.
Opening up to the rest of the panel, is there a retailer who's doing anything in the physical retail space to try and mix things up that you've been impressed by and think that other retailers should learn from?
There's nobody kind of that I'm thinking of kind of in London or the UK kind of that straight away springs to mind.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the best touted examples is what Amazon are trialing at the moment with our Amazon Go store, which I think is just for employees at the moment, which is kind of the ideal blend of, like you say, of that online and offline in-store kind of experience world. But I think Hemal's exactly right, just in terms of a starting point, really does have to be that understanding of the customer journey and then building the strategy around that to kind of blend the two. And I guess those stores that, or those retailers that are going to be the winners essentially in this space are those who are really transforming the customer experience by blending that new technology, digitalizing operations and offering the best in class in customer service.
Any thoughts, Steve?
So I agree with these guys, and I think really it's the ones that are innovating to reduce any point of friction, whether it's online or in store. And for me, I criticize online there, but the in-store aren't doing quite so good either. And I think there are certain points where there are opportunities for significant improvement. There are still big points of friction when you're going to a shop into a store, right? So why do I still have to queue to pay for things? I mean, that's pretty crazy, right?
I feel like you're asking me
Amazon
personally.
Go are experimenting with that stuff, but why can I not just pick stuff up off the shelf, put it in a bag and walk out? Why, if I go in a supermarket, can I not just push my trolley straight to the car? Why do I have to take it out? Somebody scans it through a very manual process, put it back in the trolley and go to the car. It's just ridiculous,
So it's less about doing something really innovative in the store and more about making it a frictionless experience.
Absolutely.
Okay. So in a recent study, 85% of people said that they prefer to shop in-store than online, but online continues to grow and is overtaking in both North America and Europe. I'm sure that Gemma would have something to say about the disconnect between what people say and what they actually do. But for this panel, what can retailers do more to create a more seamless experience there?
I think focus on the customer journey, focus on the pain points. And so if doing a grocery shop involves trip, traffic, queues and carrying, then cut those out. If doing a wardrobe shop involves navigating a sea of clothes, cut those out. Clothes should just arrive to you on your doorstep. Simple things like that, I suppose.
I think, if you ask customers what they want from a great experience, I mean, there's probably some people that are going to say if you ask them what they want, they're going to tell you that they want a horse. But I don't think that's really the case in kind of this day and age. Customers are a lot more savvy. But I think, all research that I've seen around kind of retail and the customer experience is that, especially for the in-store experience, customers want to check product availability, that it's available in store before they get to the store, that they don't want queues, that they want to be rewarded for their loyalty, they want to be able to touch and feel the product. So being able to, not essentially blind the customer with gimmicky tech, but kind of fix all of those things and get those right will really improve the customer experience.
Okay, so over to the actual technologies and the startups. Can you tell us a bit more, Hemal, about how you work with startups day to day?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it kind of goes back to the type of problem we're solving. If it's something we can do in-house, we'll do it. If it's a small wheel, we'll reinvent it. If it's a big wheel, it's something that's beyond our comfort zone, we'll leverage people who are kind of specializing in that. Things that we look for are how difficult is the problem. So we don't want to reinvent that stuff. Is it on track with our vision and our strategy? Is it going to help us achieve that? And how easy is it to integrate into test? So we help, or we work with lots of solo founders who are just starting out, and for them, a 30-minute coffee often saves them 6 to 8 weeks of head banging, let's say. Early stage companies who are in seed round, who got a bit of an idea, they've got a bit of traction, but they need a bit of course correction.
Yeah.
And again, coffee kind of helps there, maybe a bit of guidance, a bit of mentorship. And then at the other end of the spectrum where they're probably not startups anymore, they've got their model cracked, they're just high growth companies. We'll go and do a small test basically, and treat them as a supplier. And so it kind of depends on what problem we're trying to solve, and that's the kind of spectrum that we'll work with startups on.
Okay, so the technologies of the future of retail, do you have any tips for what you think will be a flash in the pan and what will work long term? I know a few years ago we were tipping Oculus Rift to change the whole face of retail, but there doesn't seem to have been the uptake that we expected. So what are your tips for success, Steve?
Well, I guess retail's always been quite slow to innovate, so I'm not entirely sure that it will. I think, the point that I was making earlier is that, I understand that logistically running a website, a retail website, is very difficult, and so there's always a pressure to simplify and to make things incredibly functional. And it feels like online's kind of gone too far that way. It's just a functional, they just want your money.
Everything
just feels
the same,
like,
yeah.
yes. Whereas online, kind of, the perhaps not the convenience is kind of working. But online retailers have just been kind of riding on the benefits of convenience for too long. And obviously they're growing, but they're growing well, and they're doing everything well because it's convenient. But they're lacking that flavor, that sentiment, that general kind of enjoyment and inspiration about using an online shopping experience. So yeah, I'd just like to see a sort of balancing between the two, I think.
Okay. Gemma?
I think probably the most interesting innovation that I've seen recently is the technology that enables store associates or store staff essentially to be turned into high-tech hubs. I think this is what Hemal was referring to, so that you walk into a store and they know who you are, they've got your customer data in front of them. They're able to offer you products or services that day that are relevant to you. They know that the product that you might be after is available in store, and then ultimately they have your payment details. So there's no friction there, and it's a seamless experience. You've been given and really delivered that remarkable experience that is based on your needs right then and there, and I think essentially that's the trick there is the technology that's going to succeed is what is meeting customers' needs, not the gimmicks.
Do you have anything to add, Mum?
No, I think you covered it both. I think that the flash in the pan stuff, there's lots of stuff which has cropped up, lots of stuff which hasn't worked. So the magic mirrors where you hold up a jacket, scan it, and you get a render of yourself with the jacket on top of you. Could just try the jacket on, I think it'll be easier. So there's some stuff there which hasn't really been thought through. I think the trick is to start with customers. That's the approach we would take. Understand behaviors and stuff and the pain points and go from there. The opposite end of the spectrum is you start with an idea, you go and build it, spend a few million quid, and you realize that you built the wrong thing. Every startup should be avoiding that, as every corporate as well. So yeah, start with customers, keep it simple.
Okay, so we have 1 minute left. Jumping ahead 5 years, what do you think the one thing is that we'll see in high street stores and online shopping that isn't present today? Hemal?
I think it's present today, but I think we'll see more of it, which is more of the boutique artisanal experience in bigger stores. And that's powered by those simple CRMs, giving their sales assistants superpowers, focusing on specialists who know their stuff, whether that's a personal stylist or a tailor, or a bra fitter or an upholsterer, having that expertise in store, I think, is going to be super key to provide decent customer experiences.
So a boutique local experience, but powered by high tech.
Yeah, under the hood, so
Yeah.
the customer doesn't realise.
Okay, Gemma?
Yeah, I think it's probably along similar lines to that, but I'd love retailers to be able to recognise when a customer requires that remarkable, memorable experience in store versus I've just popped in and I need to get out as quickly as possible. I think anything that can meet that need will succeed.
Okay, 5 years. What are we going to see, Steve?
I think in store we're going to probably see an adoption of RF tagging, which I think will solve the problem of being able to just walk out the store. But individual RF tagging with a unique ID for individual products, so you'll be able to share data between other stores about what people are buying and buying habits. Online, I think we're probably going to see a lot more sort of department level sort of shopping, so companies working together, brands working together, people like List and Okta that are kind of help solve that sort of thing. And also, because I've got the final word, I'm going to say a lot more people doing shoppable video with WIREWAX. So.
Yeah.